Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of TDOC Talks. I'm East Region Public Information Officer Rob Rayburn. I'm joined by three of our incredible wardens here at the Tennessee Department of Correction. Riverbend Maximum Security Institution Warden Tony Mays, Morgan County Correctional Complex's Warden Mike Paris, and Warden Sean Phillips of the Northwest Correctional Complex. And we're going to be discussing today some of the amazing and very well thought out changes and important policies that have been put into place over the last 7 or 8 years that have really increased the safety and security of our facilities and ensured that our officers, staff, and the offenders can go about their business daily in a safe environment. So Warden Mays, I'll start off with you. One of the big policies that went into effect several years ago were enforcement on property restrictions and what offenders couldn't have and how much of it that they could have. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that was one of the best things that this department undertook, and that was under the administration of Mr. Schofield. We always have enforced the amount of property that an inmate could have in his cell or her cell, and it was just safety reasons all the way around. Safety within the cell. I mean, I've seen cells we walk into back in my day, I don't know about these gentlemen, that you're basically stumbling over property when you enter the cell. It also gives inmates more places to hide their contraband. An officer can spend less time inside of that cell in regards to searching that cell. The less property, the less you have to go through. So that was a real biggie, and it looks good. It makes good for an overall environment. Actually, I've seen it build the inmate esteem himself. He go inside the cell, his cell looks neat, he feel good about his cell, he feel good about himself. So it helped all the way around.
That's incredible. So this is a policy that wasn't just specifically for the safetiness of officers and staff or to improve cell searches, but this was all around for all involved, all parties, offenders, their cellmates, staff and officers inside the unit, etc.
Exactly, and I believe that the less time that a staff member spend inside of a cell searching it, the more quality we get out of that staff member doing other things. And of course, I'm sure the inmates enjoy it as well, because that's the less time an officer have to spend inside of their cell.
That's excellent. That sounds great. Yeah. Warden Paris, to expand a little bit on the property restrictions and everything, some people might ask, well, you put these into place, how do you know they're being abided by? That was another thing that was put into place years ago, was mandatory cell inspections. Can you tell us a little bit about those cell inspections?
Every day, Monday through Friday, the wardens spend from 9 to at least 11. It's usually longer than that, but at least 2 hours every day making cell inspections, going in every building. If you got the large institutions, you may take more than one day to get to every building, but at least every building a couple times a week. You go in an inmate cell, and to mention what Warden Mays said, not only are they neater, it's more uniform. The inmates have to make a bed a certain way, nothing under the bed except their shoes lined up in a neat manner. It just looks good, and it makes it easy to search, as he already said. But it also gives the inmate some ownership and pride that, yeah, he's incarcerated, but that's his house. And it's clean. The standards of cleanliness in Tennessee Department of Corrections are better than most restaurants you go in on the street. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. So with that requirement being out of the compound, that also increases your visibility as wardens, is that correct?
And gives us more time to interact with the inmates. You know, sometimes little issues where an inmate maybe didn't get the right portion at a meal or thought he didn't, if you can deal with that, it keeps it from coming up to a bigger issue.
And that communication is very key. I'm sorry, Warden?
It's not just that's a biggie if they may see you there in your presence, but the staff as well. The more that the staff see administration out, it makes the staff feel like administration care more about them on the day-to-day activity. And heaven forbid if you pitched in and helped do something that assists them during their daily duties, then that makes things more cohesive, and that bond you build with your staff as well.
Excellent. Warden Phillips, would you like to add anything to that before we move on to you for your official question?
Yeah, just to echo what they said, it not only helps with the staff and the inmates, but it's the overall morale of the institution. You can see a difference in the way the institution operates. Going into that cell search and those cell inspections, we actually have a diagram. So we know when we look at a cell, we can tell if something's out of pocket, if something's out of place, and it makes it, you know, the first thing you see, I guess, the curb appeal when you walk into a unit is clean. you see those cells, and like Warden May said, the inmates, a lot of them, they take pride in that, and they see that it makes a difference on how they're responded to and how that reaction from staff comes. But along those same lines, the safety is first and foremost. When you go in that cell, you can automatically tell if it's commissary day. You may have an issue, an inmate's talking about having so much commissary, and if he's not ordered commissary in a long time and he's got $100 worth of commissary in his cell, it's easy to tell because we have a certain place for that, and it helps us to look at different issues as far as the inmates and how they interact and deal with each other. But the cell inspections and the way the cells are kept and the neatness of that also gives the inmates some structure. Everything in the prison is about a schedule. And that schedule gets off in the morning, it's off all day. But with that schedule and with that structured environment, it gives the inmates some purpose and gets them started off on the right foot every day. Like you said, getting up, cells in a neat order, make their bed, everything's lined up. They got a purpose when they get up. They don't just wander around. They actually have a purpose as soon as their feet hit the floor in the morning, and that makes a big difference.
Structure is very, very important, and I think it's phenomenal that you pointed that out, because that segues into my next question for you, Warden Phillips. There's a lot of movement every single day within our facilities. Offenders going from their cells to kitchen to work or to eat, going to jobs within the compound and outside of the compound, etc. What have we done as an agency to ensure that all that movement is very structured and to ensure the safety of both those offenders and our staff with all this movement going on within our compound and outside?
Sitting here between the three of us is probably a little over 90 years of correctional eyes, so to say it was chaotic back in the day is an understatement. We just managed that chaos a lot of times. The implementation of tier management and control movement has definitely changed the way we operate our prisons and made them a lot more safe and secure for not just the inmates but the staff as well. Most of the inmates want to come in and do their time, and they want to live in a safe environment. And the tier management basically lets us take any type of housing unit that we have and just have to deal with half of those inmates at a time. Whether it's a 128-man unit or whether it's a 64-man unit, half of those inmates are out at a time for different movement, whether that be going to the lunch, breakfast, or supper meal, whether that be to the rec yard, whether that to the gym. That way that officer has less inmates to deal with, less inmates to control, and there's call-outs in that structured movement once again. When they do come out, they're single file line. We have walkways that have arrows, directional arrows, and lines painted for those inmates to walk in an orderly fashion, coming and going. That way, if something does happen, it's easier to manage. It lets us control that movement. We can stop it. We can look at what's going on. We can identify who's going on rather than having 40 or 50 people bunched up walking around. If you got folks in a single file line, that's the same way coming and going from the chow hall in any type of movement. It's really changed the structure and let us get a lot more stuff done in the same amount of time that before, where we were having to manage and hunt for things and see what was going on. We can control what goes on and have a definite idea of what's happening. Along that same time, we started a computer-generated passes. We've always issued passes to inmates to go to different places, but before the day actually starts, every institution has a list of computer-generated passes that go to all the housing units, so those inmates know what time they have to be somewhere, when they have to go. The officers know. Once again, that helps with that control movement and that structure throughout the course of the day.
Imagine the chaos, as Sean stated earlier. Say 50 inmates going from one location to another. Would you have them going in a mob style fashion, or would you rather have a structure? Everyone lined up, pants pulled up, shirts tucked in. Basically, no one should be speaking or talking anyway. And imagine an officer had to go between that 50 mob that is chaotic. Inmates feels well. Inmates feel safer knowing that I don't have to worry about walking through a crowd of inmates and possibly coming out with something wrong with me. But if you got everything in an orderly fashion, decent in order is the way I like to say it, it's just good overall picture all together. Safety and security, I know it is with me, it's with them. Safety and security within the facility, it means the world to inmates and staff alike. So That's a real good thing.
Not only is the movement more orderly, with the master call-out list and the computer-generated passes, you know exactly who's going to a church service, you know what time people are going to medical for what medical appointments, and everybody has, you just ask for that pass, and if he's not where he's supposed to be, it's real easy to find that out. Used to, it was chaotic. There was 50 people moving. You didn't know where they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
They could tell you this
And
and that.
that's real important in an emergency situation.
Yes.
Something may happen, and we may have to, we may have to lock the institution down and do a count. We have an out count process, like for general call-outs, like all your kitchen workers, for your school students, for vocational students. But at any given time in a unit, you may have 10 to 12 inmates that are at the dentist, at the doctor, seeing their counselor, or talking to the chaplain. There's a list. When we call that count, instead of having to send people and herd these guys up, we can look at that list. Okay, this inmate's here, go get this one, go get this one. We know where they're at, and it cuts that time down to get everybody in place and to get them back in a secure location. I'm going to say less than half, because we don't have to hunt and we don't have to wonder, well, where's John Smith at? He's in the chapel, so we go get him. Whereas before, we may have just sent him out and just wrote the inmate a pass, and we had no copy of that. We had no way to confirm that. But now we have a better structure and a better way to keep track of every inmate at that place at all times. So
That's incredible. A lot of these policies and procedures that have been put in place seem to directly affect the offenders. Now, you've said that they seem to enjoy it afterwards. What was the transition like for them? Was there a lot of pushback, or did they immediately see the benefit? And
Human nature is human nature. I mean, offenders is human just like we are, and no one like change. I'm all for change, especially when it's good change. Of course, when people get in their ruts and they like doing things the old way and they don't want to be bothered, and when this was working. But of course, on set, it's always going to be, I can't speak for other facilities, but it's always going to be a few say, why do we have to do this? Time passes by, and once you hold them to that foot to the fire and show them the pluses of it, then they come around. They know that everything we do, whether they want to admit to it or not, is for the betterment of the facility, the betterment of their safety, the betterment of staff safety. It's always going to be some pushback, but you slow walk yourself into it. If you're going to be in tier management, say next month, you don't want to wait the next month to let them know, okay, we're doing tier management. Put out your curriculum. Y'all can agree or disagree.
Yes.
And then what we're going to do, this is what we're going to begin a month from now. This is the whys, and this is what is going to be expected of you. Inmates receive that better than you just, per se, just shoving it down their throat.
Good communication is the key to success. So if you put these changes out to the inmate population prior and enough time for them to kind of mull that over before you put the change in place, you have a whole lot less pushback.
And that goes back again to us being on the compound. When we're out, we do the inmate council meetings, which are broadcast on our in-house
Closed
circuit system. And anytime we're going to do an initiative like that, the inmates, first and foremost, they're people. They're just like us in some respect, where if you're going to have a change, you don't want to find about it 5 minutes before you walk into it. Or everybody in this room, you're going to get some pushback from us. But like Mr. May said, we explain that to them, we hold that, and we go to inmate council. And that's not something that we have to do. It's something that benefits us as well as makes it easier on the staff, because all those initiatives that we push out, those correctional officers are the ones that deal with that day in and day out. So everything that we do, success or failure, depends on those correctional officers that are the front line, the boots on the ground. So we meet with those folks, and we tell them, here's what we expect here of the inmates, here's what's going to go, here's how it's going to happen, what can we do to make it better. And we've got some good ideas from our line staff, and then we pass that on down, and then we get to the inmate population, and it's not a question of necessarily if they want to or not, or getting their buy-in. It's just giving them that opportunity to know, because you're going to have that 5% or less that's never going to comply, that's never going to get with the program. That's the reason they're in prison. But that other 95 to 98%, they've made a mistake. They're there to do their time. They're going to comply. They're going to do what it takes. And then, like Warden Mays and Mike both said, at the end of the day, they all know that everything we're doing is to create a better environment for them to do their time, get rehabilitated, get the opportunities they need to be successful once they get out. And all this plays into that all the way up till the time they hit the back door and go out. So,
Because inmates are internal customers. I mean, a lot of people don't want to see it that way, but they're internal customers. We're to provide them certain things by law, and we need to make sure they get that. And the better communication you have between staff and inmates, the better that works.
Absolutely. Well, offenders who understand, are communicated with, and shown respect are obviously going to return as respectful citizens. And that's kind of what I was leading to with that original question. I think that speaks volumes not only to how well you guys are running your facilities, but to your staff and your officers for these changes to go over almost impeccably well and so smooth. Again, just kudos to you being out there, communicating with the offenders, communicating with the staff, and empowering your staff to kind of take charge and lead the way and help explain within their units, and when they're out there running the ball field, communicating with these offenders, making sure that everyone was on the same page. It's absolutely phenomenal. I know you guys are super busy, but I got one more question for all three of you. Feel free to answer individually or as a whole, but as you said at the beginning of the interview, 90 plus years of experience between all three of you, and that's phenomenal, and we thank you for your service. Not that things were not safe before, but in the last 7 or 8 years, would you say that TDOC is operating safer facilities now, and why?
I would say things are more structured. It's better structured. I mean, we've stated more than once, we don't want to continue to sit here and boast about our time of service, but I've seen a lot of water go under the bridges. Things are more structured now in the last 7, 8 years. Not that it wasn't before, but you know, improvement is always better. If you're not going to change, especially for the betterment, then you just in the same rut. I can see, compared to when I started, inmate movement, as we stated before, inmate sales, maybe even inmate morale. One of the best things that I think that have came along here recently, and I didn't want to get into it because it's a deep subject, and that's the Public Safety Act. We're all about rehabilitating an individual if he or she wants to be rehabilitated, but to re-enter society as a better individual than they were before they came in. To know that individual and he know what his needs is, and we as a department attempt to meet those needs if he allow us to help him meet those needs, help him re-enter society as a better individual. Strong R's is designed as part of that Public Safety Act to identify what John Doe inmate needs to make him succeed more in when he re-enters society, hoping to keep recidivism rate down. Many things contribute to that. Those individuals that are going home, they're going to live next door to you. You're going to see them at Publix, at Walmart. I didn't mean to call names. I don't know if I'm supposed to do that or not. But anyway, they're going to re-enter society one day. And, I mean, it's what it's all about, is to help them to stay out and not come back. So the more you can do as a staff member with every little thing that you do, helping him appreciate his cell better because it's clean, makes him feel good about himself. Single file line when you walk, respect not only for your fellow man and the staff, but for yourself as well. Doing things in an orderly, neat fashion, caring about your educational mind to learn how to love your family, and just everything. That's what it's structured and molded around. And in this past, I would say 7, 8 to 10 years, I see good things in the department. And I think if staff alike, as well as inmates, cooperate and do things the way it's supposed to be, we're going in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Our processes are so much better now than they were when I started. It was kind of managed chaos, and sometimes it wasn't managed very well. We have probably some of the best processes in the nation. The control movement, we've got all these re-entry things going on so inmates can get ready for when they reintegrate into society. We're getting them driver's license. That's all things that's happened in the last 7, 8 years. And you have to get people ready. We used to just turn an inmate out. He wouldn't have an ID card. He might not have no money. We just turn him out on the street and expect him not to come back. Well, that makes no sense. So now we've got processes in place that start from the day this inmate's committed.
Same supervision.
And it goes even after it. If he's on parole, when he leaves the facility, then somebody picks him up on the community supervision side to make sure that he's getting what he needs. And the only people that are coming back to prison just aren't getting it. They're just, that 5%, like Warden Phillips mentioned, they're just always going to not comply and be that way. But our processes are really solid, and I think we're in a much better place than we were when I started a long time ago.
I would have to agree. Warden Phillips, is there anything you want to add before we close out?
In one word, I would say, absolutely. The processes we have, is it safer? Yes. But you've also got to consider, if you look at society as a whole, are the processes that we have in society, we got more technology, we've got a better way of dealing with things, but yet we still see the violence in society just increasing day after day. Every little prison in the state, is a snapshot of society.
Yes.
And even though we have these processes, the culture of society right now, folks will want to argue, we still have assaults, we still have this. Well, of course we do, because we've just got that little snapshot of society. A lot of times with 2,000 of those people fenced in inside of about 30 or 40 acres. Of course we're going to deal with the same type of stuff, but like they both said, the processes we have in place and the structure we have in place allows us to manage that in a lot better and safer environment than we ever had before. And we continue to move in the right direction. We make strides. Had the opportunity through some different organizations that the state has and deal with, and both Mike and Tony have both said, we're leading the nation in a lot of those aspects because of the measures that we've taken, the procedures and the stuff we put in place, and we're just expanding on that every day. We're getting better and doing things that make us better and create a safer place to work and for the inmates to live. So yes, absolutely.
That's excellent to hear, I think.
And if I may, and I know time is of the essence, it's all about doing the job, public safety. We're employed to do a duty to a community, a citizen, a paid duty to make our environment safe on the outside as well, and that's what it's all about. I spoke about recidivism earlier, but making our communities safe. That individual becomes incarcerated, when he or she leaves our department, we want them to go back. And I've seen some on the other side of the fence that have approached, and I'm sure they have as well, and said, I just want to thank you for what you did while I was in there. You made me a better person, open eyes. That's what it's all about. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Absolutely, I completely agree. Public safety is our mission. And again, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to sit with me and discuss these policy and procedure changes throughout the years within our agency. Thank you for your service to our agency and to the citizens of Tennessee. You guys do phenomenal work, and it shows every single day. Thank you guys for watching. We greatly appreciate it. As you can see, everything that we do, everything, even though it seems minuscule and small on the outside, everything, even down to walking in a single file line to and from the housing unit, making your bed every single morning, and keeping all your property within a certain guideline is imperative to ensuring the safety and security of our facility. It's creating a safe environment for our offenders and for our staff, and that translates to a successful offender going out, being productive, being accountable, and being responsible when they return to our communities. And as we know, 95% of our offenders will be returning to our communities. We want to make sure that they're prepared and ready to go and stay there and not come back. Thank you guys again for watching. If you're a member of Team TDOC, thank you for everything you do. Thank you for the service and dedication to this agency and to the citizens of Tennessee. And if you're not a member of Team TDOC and you're just watching, thank you for your time. We hope you liked it. If you did, please hit like and subscribe. Thank you. Have a good evening. We'll see you next time on TDOC Talks.